now, Rebecca, we're at this part of our meeting where we're gonna try to set together a first goal for Emerson. I know there's a lot of things going on in your family and with Emerson. And as we've discussed, we know that there's a lot of things that we'll need to work on. But to start our work together, we're gonna help you with the things that are most important for you right now. So, can you think of a priority for a therapy priority for you for Emerson right now?
Well, I mean, there's it's everything. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
where do we start? Where would you start?
So it's a good question that you have, and especially since you've been waiting for a long time, and Emerson has a lot of needs. So it's expected for you to not know exactly where to start. Although I do think that whatever you decide to start will be the best start for us because so I just is there anything that has the biggest impact for you at home or for Emerson or something you've been already been questioning a lot and putting a lot of energy and thoughts to it and you're like, well, might as well put engage in something to help her out? It doesn't have to be the final decision, just spontaneously what comes out of your mind.
Um, I guess, well, one thing now that just takes so much time for us is eating.
Yeah.
Some days I just feel like we spend the whole day eating.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so I'm still feeding her mostly by spoon, and um, she's really slow eating. So sometimes it takes half an hour, and then we take 15 minutes to prep and 15 minutes to clean up, and we have an hour of eating time, and then she plays for an hour, and we start all over again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it happens so
maybe
often.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that happens so often. It seems like so if you think 3 times, so it's maybe 3 hours and just that's just the final prep. That's besides all the cooking and you eating, it's a lot of yeah, I understand that. But I think it would make a lot of sense because eating is a very important uh, milestone. Self-feeding, for instance, is a very important milestone for children in terms of towards autonomy, and it's something very significant for families to be around the table and eating together at the same time for most families. So if you're okay with that, and if you have no other big objective in your mind, we can go on with that, but we can also take some time to add a few others and then decide which ones to start with.
Um, let's start here. Let's see. Yeah, sure.
And just to, as a reminder, it's just the first stone we're landing on. It's not the only stone we're gonna work on for our therapy together. So we're not gonna wait for her feeding to be all okay before we talk about something else. Even next week, next appointment, we can start talking about something else. It's just to get you started on something very concrete and that makes a difference in your daily life.
Okay, I think let's go for it.
Perfect.
If you think it makes sense, then let's go.
Totally makes sense, but the part that makes it more sense is that it makes sense for you. So you know what I mean? So but developmentally it is appropriate. So don't worry about that. If there were anything that I would make, I'm not hiding or I'm not like inhibiting, like, oh my God, why is she thinking about that? She should think about that. If there was anything that clear or that would be could harm her, could harm her family, your family, I would let you know. If I'm letting you go, I'm guiding you. That means that given my expertise, it's something that does totally make sense. It will be beneficial for for Emerson.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. I feel like there's so many things to work on, and then you just feel like clearly I've done everything wrong if I have to work with
Oh,
her with physio and with speech and with
oh,
OT, and you just feel like, where do I start?
yeah. Well, and I think you gave the right words when when you chose the feeding. It's happening anyways. You're putting energy to it anyway, so might as well put that energy in something that could help her even more develop. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that you're doing great and that we can work on and keep going and just add a few extra layers of what you're doing to help her out. But I do feel like with that objective, we can work on something that's very significant and probably make a difference really quickly in your daily lives because that's a lot of time you spend on that objective. So if we go on and really talk about feeding, I'd like you to consider giving me a painting or a small like clip or about what would you see if it would look like if something improved in that goal. What would be different? And I'm really inviting you to imagine it like as a video or a picture. What could I see or what could would you notice that is different?
Um, so yeah, right now, I mean, it's really involved. Like I have to do a lot. So to be able to just, you know, put her in her high chair and give some food and let her feed herself, um, without getting really frustrated, because she's starting to pick some things up and put them in her mouth.
Good.
But sometimes it's like this, and then it's not
Yeah.
doesn't really work. So she misses a lot and then gets frustrated. So then I just jump in and feed her.
Right.
Um, so because that's what works, right? So if she
Hmm.
could just pick up some food and eat it herself and not have a meltdown, and maybe I could even eat at the same time or drink a
Hmm.
coffee or
Yeah.
you know do some do some dishes and get
Yeah.
some things cleaned up while she eats.
Right.
That just would make such a big difference, you know.
Right. So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing your involvement, how much you're involved. Also, um her autonomy and her feeling her about how she engages in something that's not going to end up being frustrating to her and kind of the interaction where you want her to be more autonomous and happy, but as soon as it's not going the way she wants it, you kind of have to kind of take over the task, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah.
that just gets the job done, right? Because I know she's hungry. She's really wanting to eat.
Yeah.
So then I just feed her because then I know she's getting something in, and I feel like she's hangry.
Yeah. And so you're it's like so I have three components now. I have your engagement with her that you'd like to be more co-engaged in something else next to her and helping her rather than be taking over the task. You have her anger or her deception, and then we have how much she gets to eat, like physiological needs, right? Like they're all intrinsically related together. And if I were to, so we're, if we're, maybe let's say 3 months from now, so the end of the summer or whatever 3 months from now is, and it's really going well. Like the best you can think of right now for Emerson, they'll be close. I think she will be close to 3 years old, right? What did it look like?
um, I think, yeah, just a picture of her sitting in her high chair independently and being able to give her some foods that she likes and have her be able to pick them up and eat it by herself, and
Right.
um, even while I can sit beside her and eat at the same time so that we can both get our meal done together. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be huge.
Yeah, that's a huge, and I think it's a really, really significant goal for you and for your daughter. It shows how important for you it is not for her just to fill her basic physiological needs, but her to be happy and go towards autonomy. And I'm kind of thinking maybe since it's a very big and significant goal, one of the ways to go around it is to make a smaller goal for the next few weeks. Let's say in 4 weeks do you think that would be the first step that would make a significance for you, for her, and that would lead us towards that bigger goal that is so important to you?
Um, I mean, I think for, we really have to get her being able to pick things up better, and holding something and putting it in her mouth. So I don't know, maybe either. I'm not really sure.
It's okay. It's okay. You're doing great. That's the point of why we took some time for, like I told you, it's not, it's, we're gonna take the time for you. In the email, I think you might have received, it said that today it's a whole session for to plan. It's because it's normal for you that it's not as fluid as it could be for me, because I've done it, but it's what is important is how what emerges from what you're thinking, and I will help you. I will give you the information to make a decision in the end. But keep going. You're doing great. Keep. I like how you're reflecting. You're trying to see long term, but you also understand the idea of going short term and saying, "What's the first step I need for her?" And picking up food with her hand is actually very important for her to go towards self feeding. It makes a lot of sense. So keep going.
Um, I think so. Maybe because she's still kind of going like this and using her whole hand usually with food. So either like me just starting by handing her food so she doesn't have to pick it up,
Mhm.
um, and like just slowly working towards that, or just giving her something that she can do with a whole hand and eat, like maybe even a big strawberry or something. Like she really likes fruit, so a big strawberry, you can eat it like an apple, maybe. I don't really know. Does
So
that
so
make sense?
so it does make sense. So I'm thinking the objective is once she has something in her hand, something big in her hand, depending on how we decide that she's gonna get in her hand, do we do that she's able to kind of self-feed and to bring it to her mouth and maybe eat some pieces.
Yeah. I, is that a good place to start? Would that be a good first step?
I think it would. I think it would be really interesting because it fills her need to self-feed. So we need to it need to be significant for her, not just a toy. I think that the fact that it's actual there's the flavor and there's some kind of um if something that she can eat and suck on makes a lot of sense for that objective. And also you're saying, well, you know what, maybe sizes matter because it's picking putting it to their mouth, so going something big but that is safe for her, and try to consider like, well, we need her to have it in her hand so that she can do the next step. Then maybe with the coaching we'll decide how we present it to her. But I think it makes a lot of sense actually.
I'm just worried about her not getting enough to eat that way.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, and how do you think that fact that you're worrying while she's eating, that you're worrying that she's not getting enough to eat, how would you impact how you can accompany her? If that makes any sense for you.
Um, I don't know. Like I just eating. It's just become something that's so stressful, right? Because
Yeah.
you want her to grow, and she started off a little small, and so you just
Mm.
worry about it all the time, and you can't force it, but you need her to eat. So maybe like, are we allowed to start with both? Like, can I let her feed some, but still feed some by spoon?
Mhm. And also, and we can decide how it makes more sense to your family. We can decide that during feeding, there's a moment for feeding, and there's a moment for kind of not playing, but kind of this moment where she snacks on those strawberries, where you're more there to support her. And we make sure that you're in a position where you are less stressed because she's eaten before or after. And we can also discuss if there's any medical things or things that we can consider to make sure that it stays safe. Because I hear you that her safety and her development are important. So when we walk you through that objective, we'll make sure that if there's anything about safety that we can do to increase it. But your how eating is hard for parents, when especially when children have difficulty eating, and I hear it and I understand it, and it totally is something that I want you to feel comfortable talking to me about it. And what we'll do is that we're going to acknowledge that how that makes you feel, but during those times while she's learning to self-feed, we're going to try to make it so that you're more calm and at peace, because she's been fed before, she's going to be fed after, so that you can be there more as a co-regulator for her and that you can support her. I don't know if that makes any sense for you, that we're good. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I think we're good for this objective, that we're gonna try to get her to, once she's got a big piece of food in her hand, to try to make more explore through feeding, and then what in our next session we'll start the coaching. So as discussed, the coaching is really based on you and I talking and seeing what you've observed, and trying to have you make a plan for next time. And also, just to let you know, safety is a concern I know safety is a concern, and it's a concern for you. And at any point I feel like there's a concern that we need, or I need to see her do something, or I will direct you, and I will make sure that you know what to we'll work together for her safety. And as long as we're in a safe zone where we can explore, then I'll make sure that it's something that's agreeable for both you and her.
Okay. That sounds
Is that good? Perfect. See you in a bit.